Welcome to episode 3 of CoLab, the listening laboratory for the creative industries, where we explore specific projects that have been made collaboratively over a long period of time that are just interesting to look at and make us think differently about how to work with other people in different places and just explore things. So, this one is all about how filmmaking can be used in a very different way that's not just about creating a product or a film itself, but rather about how it can be used as a tool of conservation and heritage preservation. So hope you like it, and I really need to get better at these introductions, so that's why I have to film them after the fact. So enjoy, and do comment, do like, do subscribe wherever you're listening to this. Share it around if you find it useful. It helps us grow and improve the podcast and quality of the show and quality of the conversation. So do enjoy. Let's start. So welcome everybody to CoLab. I don't know which episode this is because I am just weaving around in and out. We have Irina Ruiz today. So instead of me talking about you, who are you? Introduce yourself. What have you done up until now?
Okay, thank you for the invitation. I'm in Panama, but not in Panama City. My name is Irina Ruiz. I live in the central region of Panama. This is called Peninsula of Azuero. If you think in Central America, this could be a very small point, but in this place we have been working with creative industries since 2002 and basing most of the experience that we have as a collective. We've been reading and researching a lot from cultural industries, and all the experience lead us to have some kind of collective that rescue heritage using documentary as a tool, using documentary cinema or a documentary film festival. This is what I have here. After 10 years, our film festival is like an international spot for showcase all the documentary films around the world, and we are the only film festival that specializes in the non-fiction genre. This is called Acampadok. And thank you for the invitation again.
Okay. So you've been working for 10 years creating this film festival all about documentary filmmaker bringing people from all over Latin America and farther afield and showcasing documentary filmmaking in La Villa. So to help our audience, can you describe what does La Villa de los Santos looks like? How's it living there? Because I think I've only been there 4 times in my life actually.
Okay, yes, in fact, this is a very special historical place, archaeological site. There is a very small town. In fact, we often say that La Villa is a place that you can go biking around in less than 30 minutes, and it's a very cozy place, and all the facts that we know, for example, if you know about Panamanian culture, or something, or some pictures or whatever you have been looking about Panama in terms of folklore or cultural things, you can find that here. You can find the gastronomic issues here. There are most of the folkloric and music people, the percussionists and the singers, all the costumes, and most of the traditional um, issues that you can think about Panama. They are reflected in this very small place. It's like a window for a region, and because of that, the citizens here take care a lot of safeguarding this kind of traditions, because we know that this is like the seed for the new generations.
I've seen La Villa described as the cultural heartland of Panama, or at least a tradition of post-Spanish independence myths. Here's where the idea of the nation state of Panama came from, and so on. But you
Yes.
describe in your writing patrimonio, which is the best translation to English is heritage. So you use heritage filmmaking. Can you describe that particular term? Why describe it as heritage filmmaking specifically rather than anything else?
Well, in fact, we are described also as as a public archaeologist, because we, as a filmmakers for documentaries, we are in contact with living cultures, with living heritage, and we are approaching to the fact, to the situations in a very subjective way, with a camera, with a audio recorder, and that have been characterized as a public archaeology since, I don't know, but probably since 80s. In the 80s, they started to introduce that term in the academia, and we can be considered also as a safeguarding, as a good safeguarding practice for for the new generations, as I said, because when you discover that these kind of living traditions start disappearing because there is a lack of government programs about that, we started to make short films, very short films of 5 minutes, 7 minutes, with some students in our school. And in those films, after 10 years, they can become as a big heritage for recognizing practices, for recognizing probably places that have been lost, or many of the films that we've been doing in Acampadoc since 2012. They are like now they are a piece of gold for us and for the country, because now we recognize in those pieces that have been filmed 10, 10 years. 10 years is nothing, but no one have been doing that. This is the thing, that no one in Panama was doing that kind of archives. And I think this is the risk, because if you are not being sharp with a cultural politic of safeguarding, probably in 10 years more you are going to lose what you were considered as a living culture or as a living heritage.
So it's very much that tradition, that folkloric tradition, and that's the word that's always associated with the La Villa, folklore. And folklore is living, evolving culture, but it can also be lost and forever just disappear. So on your website, you described that documentary filmmaking specifically helps save heritage. You've described how that happens, but you also say that it foments collective reflection. And something I'm curious about is that media, however impactful, however amazing, and I feel amazing watching this piece of media. It can also be a lonely and passive exercise. So how do you help people engage with the documentaries and the media creations in a collective way that leads towards that conservation of heritage and community building?
Okay, yes, we promote that discussion or that reflection in terms of the audience and the community, because we held that annual documentary film festival, and that welcomes the community to share the documentaries that you cannot see, for example, in YouTube, because some of these documentaries are premieres. Some of them are brilliant documentaries that apply to our festival that probably come. For example, this year we had a documentary from New Zealand, not from New Zealand, was from Polynesia, and last year and all these years we've been having like ambassadors from other countries, and that was being like the most amazing part of the festival. But one important fact of the Acampador Film Festival is that we also produce content that is not only the content that is coming to showcase in La Villa, but we are having like the last day of the festival, or the last 2 days in the case of this year, to approach to the community and to have real characters with real situations happening, um, that can appeal to our students, and to invite them to make film about the community, to rescue some specific issue that they recognize, and to give the community the opportunity to make that reflection at the end of the festival about that issue that is lost, or that is losing, and they can see themselves in the big screen, and that is one of the most important things that we promote, that all this heritage can be recognized, can be valued, because if you as a community you don't value yourself, no one is going to come to value what you have. And I think this is the best prize for being in Acampador, because we are promoting cinema, or making cinema, or teaching cinema, but also benefiting the community and working with them in a very strong way. It makes that important, because most of the days that I how can I say that? Some years I think that the program, or the acampador can stop, okay, because probably we've been doing a lot, and there are 5 or 8 years, and that's enough. It's the community that asked me to keep going. To keep going, and it's the community that comes to my door, even though we are in a pandemic time, and say, hey, please, you need to rescue this is important. Please, you cinema people, please come back to La Villa, because we are losing this or that. And I think this is like infinite uh, query. It's an infinite query of stories.
Oh, that I was gonna ask you about how you've been able to measure the impact, but I think that alone is the best thing you could have. Like, you've been working in the community, and the community itself says, "No, come back, don't go away, we need you." And I like the point about representation, and in the context of Panama is that, or maybe Latin America. Latin America has been subordinate in terms of cultural production to the US, to Europe, to other parts of the world, and the chances to create, I come from that part of the world, our own stories has been very limited. So, talk a little bit about that specifically. Maybe you can tell you some stories about people who've told you like how important that is to see themselves, see their way of speaking, their way of being, the places they recognize in film, at least.
Okay, to rescue heritage through film has been something that we never proposed ourselves as a project. I think that we started to giving, or to share what we have with the filmmakers, or the new filmmakers that wanted to learn how to make cinema, or to access the knowledge. Because remember that for Central America there are no ways to learn about filmmaking, uh, even though we have a very important film school in Cuba. In Central America, there is no way to travel if you have if you don't have resources or funds in your country. And that happened in Central America. There are no funding for the governments for culture. There are no Ministry of Culture. There are no funds for cinema in all Central America. Panama is the only country that has a support from the government in terms of funding for making films. When you know that panorama, you say, okay, probably we can be lost if we don't make something. So we started to teach, and we started to get together with other fellows that came from the film school to teach the kids that didn't have that opportunity. We start to give the opportunities to underrepresented places, regions, indigenous er, indigenous kids, not kids, but there are also young filmmakers and new filmmakers that want to make creation as a way to express themselves. For example, we've been teaching many areas like en Verá young filmmakers, and this is a region that is linked to Colombia, Panama, and in Colombia we share that region or that indigenous collective. En Verás, also Nove Buglés, also Gunayalas, that kind of approach to those collectives of teens, because they were teens 10 years ago, that made us to think that we could build something good with the community. Because now when you see when you see the way they develop 10 or 5 or 6 years after they took the training here in Acampado, there is a nice way to see they have been developing the same model or the same way of rescue in their communities. And that is the objective of Acampado, that you can reply the model in any community that you wish, that you can go to your place, and if there is no a cinema screen, if there is no institution, if there is no help, you can go back to Guatemala, you can go back to Honduras, to your place again, and share that what you receive in your Acampado school, to support your community and to keep rescuing what you think that is important to rescue.
Oh, that's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more? Actually, I'm gonna go into context for people listening. That Panama, like a lot of places in Latin and Central America, have indigenous people groups that are still living there, and they have a special designation called comarcas. So they technically they're their land to be used. So the Emberas you describe and the Guna sort of straddle the border between Colombia and Panama. There's a discussion about having borders in Latin America. It's a bit weird, but it's amazing that these people are historically marginalized, without resources, without anything, forced to lose their language and their culture in favor of joining the economy of the country. So can you tell, I like what you describe about just making things where you have no resources, nothing, like you just have to keep making the stuff and it eventually evolves. Can you tell people about the difficulties in working in the Latin American context that you sort of talked about, but maybe a little with more details? But how do you see those challenges of, oh, we haven't got a cinema here to show films, how do we solve that? How is that actually maybe a good thing in a different way?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that since the start of Acampado, I think that I can go back and say that we started that connection with the kids that came from Nicaragua, for example, and from Honduras, from Costa Rica. Remember that there is a connection by how do you say, avenue, by land.
Ah, yeah, land connect. Yeah.
There is a land connection, and all Central America can be connected easily. And those kids were coming to receive the training in Acampador. This was okay. This was an online application that we started to give to the public, and we say, okay, we are all welcome to come to Acampador, to La Villa de los Santos, to learn documentary cinema. And we started the first year with a participant from Honduras, from Nicaragua, from Colombia, and we say, "Hey, this is crazy. How come these people is coming? Like mochileros. They are coming, uh,
Backpacker style.
backpackers by themselves with nothing in their kids with no credit cards. I'm thinking about those heroes now after 10 years as the best promoters in the region in Central America, because some of these participants in those years have become now leaders in their countries. They are having like film festivals, very small film festivals in their countries. They went back to the communities to teach. They went back to make films, amazing films about their the contemporary issues that they understood that were important, and they started these connections here. And this is like what we used to call the good seed. We used to, la buena semilla. We always say this is the good seed that we plant here in Acampador. We develop documentaries with the young generations that want to make those projects, and we also promote that reflection with the communities. And I think this is a nice proposal for any kind of community that wants to develop that kind of stories, and bringing that cultural interest to rescue heritage in your place. I think this is something remarkable. If you ask me for something remarkable that I won't ever forget, is the way that those people came interested in filmmaking from many places with nothing back, because we didn't have like a background as teachers. We were growing as teachers, as trainers or coaches, whatever you want to to call that, based on the experience that we have in our cinema school. We were trained by the best, probably the best filmmakers in Latin America, and the way that we were teach, this is the passion that we give in Acampador. Because if you ask me, okay, but probably you're kind of a it's not a competition for the Cuban film school. It's not a competition. We are the same thing. It's not something that can be seen as like a competition, but just as a arm or as a leg. Because some of the filmmakers that we bring here, they came from or they were or are actually film teachers in Cuba, in ACTV.
So I have heard many conversations that say that competition in the creative industries can be very damaging, especially when about helping each other. We have to help each other. It's no matter how developed the economy, even in the UK, the arts are always seen as something that's nice to have. Give them a little bit of funding, or as I've been reading a lot, is the first part of the economy where they test anti-labor practices. So, can you tell us how do you find collaborators, and maybe in your specific context, what is some like advice you could give to people to build collaboration under the similar conditions. The word I'm looking for is trust, because you can only collaborate with people you trust.
Okay. Well, working very intensively as we work, this is not something that you can plan for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. When we started to think about something like a film camp, because we started as a film camp, we started with the knowledge or with the idea that we had to stay probably 5 years working with educational activities, working with the community, and this is something that now gives you probably the ideas that yes, you need to have some arm or some leg attached to the government or to the institutions, because you need to get recognized in some way or another by them. And that's the way we started with probably with a good partner that was IADB, in International Development Bank in Washington. They gave us the first support to start in 2012 with this project. And since that year, we've been always promoted by them, in not with money, not with funding, but in social media. We right now are like like a star in Central America, that after 10 years of funding, and the funding was very, very small, it was like $7,000, nothing. Well, in that moment, that was a great thing, because that means that you could at least give food for the people, accommodation, and the most basic things to stay, because this is a program that takes place in 10 or 15 days. So we need accommodations, we need help for Latin American or organization or governmental organizations to to include that in our annual budget, because we are not only promoting that culture during those windows of 10 or 15 days. We are working the whole year. And the Ministry of this is called the Ministry of Commerce and Industries. This is the place where the Panama Film Commission is based right now. This is called the Cine. And also there is another kind of secretary called Senacit. This is a secretary for science, technology, and innovation. They trusted us many years ago, and they also help us to just to have like this kind of very ephemeral, because I say this is an ephemeral recognition. You cannot go back them every year asking for the same project, but you can have that recognition to help you to build your path along the way. I think this is a path that you need to build with yourself, with your work, and there is nothing more nice when you are recognized as a promoter internationally. Right now, we are like in the UNESCO Convention of Safeguarding of Heritage in documents. We appeared on that. We are being this is recommended by the Ministry of Culture of Panama for being like the ambassadors for UNESCO, because we are the only program that is being rescuing heritage through film, through documentary films. And this is a very important thing for culture, right? This is not like money, but is something that supports what you're working with.
That just blows my mind a little bit. I didn't know about the UNESCO thing. That's congratulations.
Yes,
So much hard
yes.
work.
We are crossing fingers because there is a national international competition for intangible safeguarding heritage that right now is like um, checking all the applications, and we are the only project that applied for Panama to represent that competition, and this is in South Korea. We had to send all the things that we have been doing since 12 years ago, more and then in Korea they're going to probably, I don't know, to look for many applications to check who is the project, or which is the country that is safeguarding best, or getting best practices for rescuing heritage. And one thing that is very nice that we found in this application is that they ask us how the project could be able to rescue heritage in terms of a natural disaster, in terms of lack of funding. You know what happened if there is no government, or no nothing, or no help from whatever, or if there is a civil war, how we will be able to keep going in that case. And that was very very interesting because we are not a place or a country very similar uh, uh, for natural disasters or civil wars. We had an invasion many years ago, but there is no natural disaster, hurricanes or whatever. But I think that the most endangered issue for the project is when you forget, el olvido. This is the most dangerous thing that we have in our countries. When you forget, is this is hard, because there is no way to revive a tradition. There is no way to revive something when you don't have that in mind, and the new generations are not having recorded in the hard drives
Yeah, exactly.
what was important. You lose a tradition forever, and when you lose that, you lose the identity, and that there is no way back.
Yeah, I've been contesting with that question of identity and tradition and laws myself, as being away from Panama for 10 years, and what did that mean to me. But also, I've been discovering it through food and uses of plants. Like, I went to Rwanda last year, and I found out that they use the taro leaves as food, las hojas de otoe.
Uh-huh. Oh,
That's food. And I told my mom about it. She went, "No, I'm not gonna eat that." So it makes me wonder, how much have we actually lost because of the lack of recording and tradition keeping? That just very amazing. I mean, my grandmother used to make palm wine, vino de palma. Nobody knows how to make that now. Nobody drinks it. Vino de
yes,
Marañón. That's been lost. So it's just important to keep it in one way or another. But
yes.
I sometimes like those applications because they really force you to think outside of the box. What if there is all digital media disappears in 2 days? What's the record of then?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes. For example, now there is a trend, for making a kombucha, and
Yeah.
some people is doing that, But if you think back, this is the way for ancient Asian cultures that are making that tradition valuable around the world. This is healthy, yes, this is whatever, but this is also a tradition. Imagine how many centuries they have been keeping that yeast and that thing cultivated to make that kombucha, and this is, a probiotic or whatever, and this is tradition. This is what makes the humanity, um, um, a culture, and it's valuable because the same way that you call that kind of wines or that kind of making food a tradition, that way a generation can be linked to that identity, and this is what make us to be, from Latin America, or to make the people from Asia feel proud for being from Asia. And that is what the interculturality is kind of trying to promote, no, to preserve that diverse cultures.
Definitely. So that's a nice segue into how do you work internationally, like building partnerships? Well, you sort of touched about it, but yeah, how do you do that from La Villa?
Okay, no, it's very easy, but it's based on strong relationship that we had since I working in Bolivia for many years, building a similar project that started in 2000. Well, in 2009, I think, in Bolivia, as you know, there is um, a very rich and amazing cosmovision and culture. The Aymara word and the Quechua word in Peru, Bolivia, whatever. This is something that attracted me many years ago, and I started to work and to live there and to learn, because that it's not like it's not like a recipe for making cinema. It's coming from them. It's something that we promote in a Campadoc, that there are no hierarchies for making cinema. There is not a director, but there is like a very horizontal um, relation with all the crew, with the community, and we don't like to talk about film directors or the film assistant or the film. No, in that communities from South America, I learned to make cinema with the people, for the people, and that changed my mind of all that I learned in a film school. When I started to collaborate with Bolivia, they say one day, okay, now it's time that you build something for you in Panama, because that way we can join Bolivia and Panama. And there is another ally, a very strong ally that I have in Guatemala. That is Casa Comal. Casa Comal Escuela is also a film school, also very appreciate by myself, because I always recognize Casa Comal as a project that also has a film festival. They have strong relationships with Europe, and very regular exchange with I think this is Norwegian, yes, Norwegian funds and that things that make them strong 10 years ago. And now they are partners, trying to make that connection between South, Central, and also the Caribbean with the film school in Cuba. And that way we make that links strong. And also in 3 years ago, some friends from Leiden. This is a place in Países Bajos in Holland. They invited us to make also a partnership with that university, Leiden University in Netherlands. Also to work with them to promote, the exchange for students in Netherlands that want to come probably not to learn about filmmaking, but to learn about the culture and to rescue heritage in the way that we make that here in Panama. And I think this is like the partners that we have. We are trying to promote ourselves more, to invite all the audience of this podcast to check on the webpage or acampadog.com. You are welcome to to write us, to make questions if you wish. If you want to come to La Villa to learn, to teach, you are always welcome to come.
Yeah, you jumped the gun there. I was going to ask you that question. Like, what do you want our listeners to do for you? Uh, well, you finished your podcast for me because we can keep talking for ages. So, thank you very much, and I've learned a lot, and I hope that people have learned a lot.
Oh, me too. I always try to go beyond the questions, because I know the time is limited. But I really appreciate the invitation, and thank you for the invitation again.
Well, okay. And there we have it. How documentary filmmaking can be used to rescue untangible heritage from the fog of memory and neglect. I really recommend you follow Irina Ruiz's work. I'm gonna be posting links wherever possible in the in the doobly-doo below, in the Substack link tree, whatever you find it. It'll be easy to look at depending where you are looking at this. So next conversation will be about, we don't know yet what the next conversation is going to be about, but it's going to be with a former band member of a local band called Junior Bill. We're going to be talking about how do you make a band, local music, community work, and who knows what else. And we will be changing things up for the next couple of episodes. Instead of it being video, I have noticed that the way we're filming the Zoom conversations it doesn't look good. So we'll try something a bit more creative next time, and let's see how you like it and if it works. So apologies in advance if it just doesn't. But there you go. Thank you very much, and I will see you. You will see me. You will hear me next time. Bye bye. Stay safe.